Okay, here we have a Pike and Shot skirmish of French 1649 versus Imperial Austrian 1649. So it's going to be a bit of an asymmetric match, I think. The French army is based on shock, so it has impact mounted, or at least a large portion of its cavalry is impact mounted, and its infantry are impact foot. So that means they have rather less firepower at close range, but an advantage on melee impact. So the whole point is to basically get into position without taking too much fire, and then charge. We do also have some Pike and Shot that is not of the impact variety. I'm guessing from allied states is why they're in this list. So pikes by this point are really only useful against cavalry. So these impact foot musketeers are good troops, and the difference between them and say these French Pike and Shot is that they roll -1 for cohesion in the open. But in terms of melee versus infantry, there's virtually no difference. I am tempted by the veterans, but I think I would rather have twice as many. Well, grab one unit of veterans to anchor the line. Okay. Next turn. Alright, we have deployment. Nice open field, really. We'll deploy our guns to the flank to mess with this cavalry. Which flank, though? Let's go with the left flank. We have some rough ground here. So against Pike and Shot units, rough ground basically causes only slight disorder, but it does slow movement, so I would rather just put my unsupported musketeers in there. Let's see, what do we have here? French Pike and Shot, French Musketeers, French Pike and Shot. Okay. Now, do we have here? Okay, so we have 10 cavalry units to work with. I suppose I could is dump most of them onto one flank and see what damage we can do. Pretty unimaginative deployment. I think I'll stay unimaginative. Well, we'll dump our veteran horse on the left flank. Then our shock cavalry on the right flank. So we'll go for more of a breakthrough on the right. Okay, we'll just see how he deploys and adjust accordingly. Okay, we'll see his deployment. Pretty small infantry line. I think he invested in some additional cavalry. 3 lights, and that's certainly a good call. I have no answer to that. dragoons, I'm not too worried about. Alright, once again I have a furiously hungry cat at hand. He seems content to be sitting angrily near me for the moment, so we'll see if we can finish up recording this turn. My horse are inevitably going to get shot up by these hussars, who are also inevitably going to overrun these guns and drive off their crews. I'm not going to really put any effort into avoiding that. In fact, we're going to dispense with all subtlety and just move everybody straight ahead right away. The danger comes from his skirmishers, artillery, etc. So if I can close into hand-to-hand combat rapidly, then I will have the advantage. A drawn-out shooting match would not be to my advantage. Okay, simple enough. Next turn. And next turn. So I'm just going to have to ignore these and hope they don't have too much time to shoot me up. Moving his cavalry away is kind of irritating, but then I can either chase after them or just ignore them as well and just rush this way around the flank. They're firing at half arc, so I'm just going to accept the losses. And we will dispense with all subtlety. Maybe I said that last turn, but it feels the same, so... This is annoying. I mean, ideally, of course, I would have liked to move here. We'll leave that decision for later. Now, we are just out of musket shot. There is some risk of disruption before contact, but I have so many more infantry units that I can accept the risk. Alright. They could move out of charge range, but it would be fairly awkward for them to do so. Alright, next turn. Alright, this will be a key turn. Yeah, we have to rush into contact or else we're gonna get shot to bits. I'm guessing from firing at half arc here that my opponent might be newer at the game, because that's reduced effectiveness. But it could have just been an error too, there is no undo button here. Not too bad for him. One bounce off, but no disrupt. And now he's forced me to waste time facing a cheaper unit in the rough. Yeah, good start for him. Alright, oh, good, we have an even cheaper unit to face off against him. So we'll do that. My men lack armor, so they would lose in the open against these armored horse, so instead we'll just sit here and zone of control lock them. Okay, hopefully we can get a frag or a disrupt from one of these three impacts. So Pike and Shot, 2 squares in front is a zone of control lock. I think. I always kind of forget how it works, to be honest, and just sort of wing it, but it's alright. Alright, let's go. So, if we're lucky, we'll break through here, pursue, and slam into these veteran late Imperial horse. And if we're even luckier, that'll make this unit break, then it can roll the other two with this cavalry unit. And then we can start making our way behind the infantry. We've got raw units on the wing, so we can just advance our own raw units into them without fear. And raw units have less fire discipline during the opponent's turn, so veteran units will try to hold their fire for a more effective volley. These disrupted right off the bat, so I guess we'll hang back with them. Oh, that was a misclick. Well, alright. Good. Didn't want to turn and fire because that would expose a flank. They didn't want to shoot at the light guns because it's a waste of ammo. Very good start. This might end up being a clean sweep. I mean, I might be speaking too soon, but it's looking very good. I didn't bother even getting a shot off with these guns. Turn and wave to the hussars. Alright. Onward. You know, 1 second. This seems a little touch noisy to me. Drop it 1 more. It's very hard to tell what's too noisy when recording until I play it back, and by then I've recorded a number of turns and it's too late. Oh, that worked out. For him, I mean. That was unwise. They were disordered in the rough. Oh, lucky him. Oh, that could get... yeah. Held firm. And they held firm as well. And they did. Very nice. Oh, that is very unfortunate. We really should have just trashed these late Imperial horse. I mean, I'm not concerned overall, but the cavalry action in general did not go smoothly as I thought it would. Now I can either turn to cover the zone of control, protect this unit, and expose my flank, or keep my own flank exposed, or face forward and let them slip by. There are no good choices here. I think we will sit and see what comes with this break. The right cavalry wing could be at risk as a whole, but I don't think that lessens our chances in the infantry battle. I think this is going to resolve too quickly for anything that happens in the wings to matter. Alright, so here you see that impact foot plus 100 on it. Impact. Makes no difference in melee, of course. He held, but we're in position to flank next turn, so it's okay. Good. That disruption was important. Without it, this unit could have disrupted in the advance. I would have wasted more time. So unlike Field of Glory, a engaged unit does not stop exerting a zone of control. So I can either wait a turn and then charge this unit or these guns, or I can simply charge now, which I will do. Lucky again. There we go. This impact foot was starting to disappoint me for a second there. Send in the veterans. I don't want to get my musketeers too close to this cavalry. They're fine against infantry, but don't really want to throw them against horsemen in the open. Right. We should still have this under control. I'm not worried. Next turn. My apologies. Yeah, it's hard for me to get the game volume right for recording because, one, I've never recorded much before, and two, I never play with this sound on. Yeah, that was bound to happen. It's non-light cavalry. Okay. Maybe we'll lose both cavalry wings. Oh, very nice. Maybe next turn we'll start rolling what's left of this line. And all it takes is one unit, really. One thing I noticed was that a lot of people unfamiliar with the game in Field of Glory 2 would complain about the repeated held firm messages, because the way it works is admittedly kind of complicated. So, they would say, how could this unit possibly hold firm so many times, when in fact it's really for one basically similar cohesion check. Pike and Shot does not show the hold firm messages, even though the calculations are all the same, and a lot less people, said anything about it. So really, it's interesting. A message that's meant to be helpful, and I think is helpful, still, maybe confuse people more. You can't win, basically. Oh, well, it looks like we're going to win this cavalry wing after all. And one thing it doesn't list it very clearly. I mean, it says musket impact foot at short range, as opposed to musket at short range. So impact foot at short range are always firing fewer muskets at a time, keeping some in reserve for a charge. So their fire is the same at long range of 3 or 4 squares, but at 1 or 2 squares it's less effective than the fire of regular Pike and Shot units. The same thing is the case with salvo foot. And yeah, in melee, a musketeer unit versus a mixed late Pike and Shot unit of this sort, they're pretty much on even terms in the melee, despite not having pikes, because at this point the pikes are so few that their main purpose is more to fend off cavalry than to fight footmen. Earlier, large pike squares do have a pretty substantial effect in melee combat. Okay, do we have anyone left? No. So Pike and Shot doesn't have the post-battle review the field option. So I don't think it's going to wrap this turn, but it looks like we're clearly going to win. I did post both sides. I posted a mirror match of sorts, but there isn't an official mirror match function. So with different battlefields, but one person snatched up the other one. So I will say the French army list is definitely superior to the Austrian list at this era. And my opponent was always going to have a hard time winning this one. That being said, I do think he had options to have a chance. These shooty horse, they're best off against sort of shock horse in forests or rough ground from which they can shoot, and if the shock horse charge in, they are disordered and lose their shock impact. Or if they try to ride by, they get hit in the flank, which, also they lose their shock impact. So a way to deploy here, a rush into here, could have been good. Certainly to hold the cavalry here. And this would be a great hill for at least a large chunk of the infantry. In terms of army composition, I think he also spent points on cavalry, and certainly 120 points on these hussars. Now, I did the same thing in my Austrian game, but I also have deployed to try to give myself time to use the hussars. And I believe I only got 2 of them for 80 points. So if he was going to spend points on hussars, it probably would have been better to deploy the main army further back. But like I said, this is not to disparage his gameplay. He has done nothing obviously wrong at all, and this was always going to be a hard matchup for the Austrians. Alright, onward. Okay, our next turn. Alright, and that ends it. A good game to my opponent. Definitely is a matchup in favor of the French. So, while I do not think it was impossible for him to win, I do want to acknowledge that the odds were in my favor. It's one of the few downsides of Pike and Shot, which I think overall holds up as a 6-year-old game, that it doesn't have a formal mirror match function. But we win some, we lose some. Perhaps I will suffer similarly in my game as the Austrians. So, till next time.